Resident Evil is a series that has changed dramatically over the years, but no matter the sequels that come after, Resident Evil 4 has never been surpassed. It was lightning in a bottle that could never be recaptured. Weapons feel great, enemies feel diverse, the game has so many unique and fun battles, the story and writing has a campy B-movie vibe that is very entertaining, and the bosses are really fantastic. And since boss rankings are something I do on this channel, let's begin the Resident Evil 4 boss ranking. While there aren't any bosses that could be considered bad, there is one that's very underwhelming, and that's the final boss, Sadler. While the transformation is hella cool and the fight is a really nice spectacle, it's far too easy for a final encounter. He waves his tentacles around and occasionally throws things at you, which is a fine pool of attacks. The problem is his defense. You have to shoot the eyes on his legs to stun him and open him up for actual damage. The issue is that one shotgun blast is enough to break an eye, and it only takes the destruction of one eye to stun him. This leads to the boss being stunned for most of the fight and results in a very underwhelming duel. You do at least get to blow him up with a rocket launcher, and it wouldn't be Resident Evil if you did not. At number 8 is U3, and it lands here because of some major flaws in its design. The cat and mouse chase through a maze of containers is very thrilling and a great idea. You must open pathways and push 2 buttons to then escape with a time limit while U3 hunts you down. And it's definitely a tense encounter, with U3 being this terrifying abortion of a monster design. None of its body parts feel like they should be connected, and it adds to this creepy, unknown alien-like creature that stands before you. When this fight works, then it's a great encounter. The problem is that it doesn't always work. U3 has such an unnatural body design, and this leads to him filling up paths that you have to run through, preventing you from proceeding at times and leading to your death. This could have been fixed by having multiple connecting paths, but this fight has none of that, so it's complete RNG if you'll have to deal with this bullshit. This boss fight also has a second phase, which is much more like a standard boss fight, and it is indeed quite solid. U3 will chase you around with some pincers and bury you into the ground to do some QTE attacks. It's a good fight, but the problem is the 2 gates that you have that you can use for a very easy advantage. Just be on the opposite side of the gate from U3, and you will get a large window of opportunity to punish till the gate is broken. It makes the fight easier, but it's still a good fight, just one that could have been much better. At number 7, we have already reached a great boss, and they will only go up from here, and that boss is El Gigante, the second boss fight of the game, and a great introduction to what the game will throw at you further on. Gigante has a large variety of attacks, and is a good early game challenge. He has large swinging punches, kicks that will hit you if you stand beneath him for too long, and some very deadly grabs. But what's unexpected is that he will also throw boulders and hit you with logs he picks up from the ground. The fight is also a great spectacle, as 3 times you will have to run onto his back and spam a QTE to deal actual damage, and it's a cherry on top of this great battle. But I do have one complaint: if you save a dog in the first chapter, then he will show up in this fight to distract the boss for a bit. It's a good way to help beginning players, but it also makes the fight quite easier. Still, it's a great fight. At number 6 is the Vertigo. First of all, this is a great way to build up a monster reveal. You always see the Vertigo hiding behind a cloak, and even at the start of the fight, it stays out of your sight, only attacking with QTEs from the ground and ceiling. It's only when you turn on the power switch and start opening the door that you will finally get a full reveal, and it really doesn't disappoint. The sight of a dark creature with glowing eyes, standing tall on 2 legs like a Terminator, is bound to send you into a panic state. But it's not only threatening in appearance, but in gameplay too. It's extremely difficult to kill the Vertigo, and it chases you around with the sole purpose of your demise. Its attacks are dangerous, leading to a very brutal fight. The only advantage you have are the freeze canisters lying around, which can be knocked down to freeze and weaken the boss for a limited amount of time. But you aren't forced to kill the boss, as waiting a certain amount of time will open up a door to escape through, meaning that victory can be achieved by surviving for a long time, which isn't as easy of a task as it sounds. It's still challenging, it's still a lot of fun. Definitely the scariest and most tense fight in the game, I must say. At number 5 is Sadler's human form. This is the only unique boss in Resident Evil 4's DLC, Separate Ways, in which you play as Ada and see her perspective on everything that happens throughout the game. It's a solid DLC that ends with a really good fight at the end. Sadler's final fight against Leon was pathetic, but his fight against Ada is unbelievably challenging. He's hella fast and deals very heavy damage with most attacks, which he has a good variety of. His most deadly attack has to be his long distance charge, as he soars over to you like some beefed up Super Saiyan before pummeling your face into the ground. The QTEs are also very demanding, and to top it all off, you can't use your pistol or SMG against him, as he will just absorb those bullets and shoot them back. I would consider him to be the hardest boss of the whole game, but in a very fair and enjoyable way. It's a very fun challenge to go against him, even if it feels nearly impossible. At number 4 is Krauser. This fight feels badass in so many ways. The knife fight is really cool, and it hypes up the true battle that is soon to come. And before the true fight, you have to run through an area picking up artifacts while battling Krauser and his drones. It's only once you get to the top of a tower that Krauser corners you for a one-on-one fight. Thankfully, the fight really doesn't disappoint. He shows Leon his new killer arm that protects him like a shield. When he attacks, you get a brief chance where he puts his shield down, letting you get a quick shotgun blast in that'll knock him back. But those moments are very brief, as Krauser is moving at the speed of a bloody demon, zooming around throwing very quick attacks. Most of the fight is spent looking for these really brief opportunities, and overall it's a very tense and incredibly fun fight. The only issue is the time limit, which is very harsh and should be a bit longer, but otherwise it's a standout fight. At number 3 is Del Lago, definitely the most unique boss and quite a surprise as the first boss fight of the game. Having to fight a giant sea monster would be very hard to pull off in gameplay, yet it's nailed perfectly here. It's one of the only 2 sections where you take control of a boat, but the game doesn't give you full control. Instead, a hook line is attached to Del Lago and you're pulled with it, but you still have enough control to avoid the rubble in the lake and to avoid Del Lago turning around to devour you. The only way to deal damage is shooting harpoons, which are very fun to use and need to be used only when you're safe, as you can't throw harpoons and steer the boat at the same time. Del Lago will also vanish at times and charge at you from a direction, requiring you to hit it with a harpoon before contact, and this could be very tense and a thrilling moment in the battle. It's an incredibly memorable battle that works surprisingly well with both great ideas and a fantastic design. At number 2 is Mendez. First of all, props to subverting expectations in a great way. Mendez gets many moments near the start of the game where he beats Leon easily and appears as a tall human foe, just like Mr. X. So you expect the fight to be against this human brute who punches and grabs. But instead, Leon blows him up with a red barrel, destroying his torso and revealing only a spine, creating a freaky monster design to fight against. The first phase is a slow fight. He slowly chases you around and attacks when he gets close enough. It works well because the arena is small and Mendez has too much health to be blown away too easily. It's fun, but the second phase is where the fight stands out. Mendez detaches from his bottom half and starts swinging around way faster, leading to a very fast-paced second phase that keeps you on your toes the whole time. No spot is safe from his attacks, and if you don't move quickly, then getting hit is inevitable. It's a challenging phase that lasts quite a while. It would be the best, but number 1 is too perfect to not be awarded the top spot. The boss fight that deserves the top spot is the fight against Salazar, who I think is a great antagonist for this game. Leon is a cocky and heroic action hero who shouts one-liners and cracks the occasional joke. He's a very stereotypical hero that does a great job at being very entertaining, and there isn't a better counter to this sort of hero than this arrogant and annoying little shit who fits the style of this game perfectly and bounces off all of Leon's quips so well. It's satisfying to finally finish him off after dealing with him for so long, and it makes the fight even better. But let's actually talk about this amazing fight. He's got tentacle arms on the sides of the arena that occasionally attack and need to be avoided with a QTE. He also has an attack that can one-shot you, and it requires you to move from your position to avoid it, but it also leaves him open for damage for just a little bit. Otherwise, you have to shoot his front tentacle in the eye to open him up for more damage. It's a very challenging fight that requires both very good offense and defense, as well as a lot of movement. It demands the right amount of skill for its point in the game, where your weapons are mostly well upgraded and all of them can be very useful in this fight. It feels very satisfying to pull off and succeed a victory, being a blast the whole way through, and no doubt the best boss of the game. But if you disagree, then I would love to hear your perspective in the comments below, as well as any feedback that you have. And with that, I will see you guys on my next video. Thank you for your time. Goodbye, everyone.